Good morning, everybody. I'm Genevieve Richardson. I'm the host of the Life Speech Pathology Show, and I am super excited to introduce you to my next guest. I'm going to let him introduce himself, but he and I met a few weeks back at the Aphasia conference that I attended, that I told you all about in North Carolina. So without further ado, this is Shai Anbar. He is the author of Goddess Aphasia, and he is a stroke survivor. And now I'm going to let you take it away from here and tell us more about you, sir.
Well, thank you. First of all, really thanks for inviting me. You know, it's an honor and a privilege. Who am I? I'm a stroke survivor who has aphasia, and also an aphasia advocate, you know, spreading the word of aphasia. So really a pleasure.
And so I adore your personality, your energy, your fire, your advocacy. You stood out in a room of people, you know, when we were at this conference, and I hadn't met you before. I didn't know about your book until I attended the conference, and I'm actively in the middle of your book, and I love the content and your passion. Can you tell us a little bit about how you survived your stroke? What did you do before? Let's start there. Tell us a little bit about your backstory, Shai.
Okay, you mean the man I used to be. And
That's how you call it.
The better man I am.
Wow.
But
I love that.
Yeah, where do I start? I tell you, I first, so I was born in Jerusalem 62 years ago, and came to the U.S. when I was 15 years old and graduated high school earlier, and before going back to his home, because Israelis have to be, when you get to 18, you get to the military. I enrolled at university at Rutgers, Camden in Philadelphia, and caught the philosophy bug. And I said, after the army, I have to be back. And, you know, after that 3-year stint at the military and some reserve time, I came back by myself to the U.S. and re-enrolled, got my BA, then my master's at Temple University in Philadelphia. No jobs were available. I reluctantly accepted a job for a logistics company. And you know, fast forward, I lived and worked in every continent except Australia. And my last job was as a CEO for a biometric and security startup. And you know, one day, it was December 6, 2011, I took a day off and I had to go to a hospital in North Jersey for a simple procedure for ablation. People would know it's your arrhythmia. A couple hours later, I woke up and I see, you know, nurses, you know, and my wife, you know, wheeling me frantically, you know, on the corridors, and you know, I get up and I go, and I froze. I just froze. Okay, let's try it again. So, you know, basically in one false swoop, what's the right word? One false swoop.
Yes.
I lost almost, you know, almost everything. I lost, obviously, career. I lost friends, which interesting how they run for the hills sometimes when you have aphasia, but that's another story. My marriage, you know, the language, and also, most importantly, my dignity, in a way. For two days, for 2 years or so, I was in life was pure hell, in purgatory, you know, moving out and you know, moving into a, you know, residential attic with no kitchen, and here's me with my passions, with cooking. Who needs a kitchen anyway? I had frozen dinners, on my fridge. No TV, because why would I need one? You turn it on, I get 10% of the gist anyway. So,
Right.
what's the point? And just the isolation, the frustration, the anger, hopelessness, the gloom. I hated me. And I can't tell you how much I can stress about depression, and add into it my smoking and alcohol and prescription pills. I was very close over the edge, but until I saw the light, or it's not right, I got shown the light. It's a little bit of difference.
I really like that. Got shown the light. Okay, keep going.
Yes, and that's when I got shown, and I'm a Grateful Dead fan, right? I'm a Deadhead, and one of the lyrics is even my son Isaac tattooed it on his arm, but it says, "Once in a while you get shown the light in the strangest of places, if you look at it right." And I did, and it was Aphasia who basically said, "I'm your companion," and she commanded me in a way to write, to express, myself, and first find yourself, and I did. So I booked through the book. I owed it to myself, and I owed it to her. And her, you say her, and but I can elaborate.
Yeah,
Go
yes.
into the Aphasia.
I'm gonna pop up the book here.
Sure.
Here is Shai's book, Goddess Aphasia. Before you get into the meat of the book, Shai, how did it come to you to want to write a book? Tell us a little bit about that process.
Well, it took me at least 7 years to write. So, at first, especially with my isolation and the worst, me being in purgatory, I said, maybe I'll write something just something to leave for my kids or something, But as I got shown the light, I said, I'm, as a businessman, turned aphasia advocate, my sole intention is to bring awareness, but how do you do that? I didn't want, aphasia to be like a term in a medical textbook, so how do you do it? And I just said, okay, well, aphasia is a Greek word. It means speechless, and I love Greek mythology. So I said, okay, Apollo, Venus, Aphrodite, Aphasia. I said, wait a minute, if Aphrodite is a goddess of love, Athena is a goddess of peace and war, Aphasia is a goddess of lost words, and there's a slice of divinity, in all of us, no matter what is your religion or denomination, but we are divine a little bit. And aphasia, my companion is me, hence goddess aphasia. And then in the book, you get into a dialogue between me, because who are you talking to? I'm talking to myself. The mirror is right at me. So, and all the trials and tribulations, living with aphasia, why not? And so I expanded more, and therefore, my book is more, it's a hybrid of a memoir and creative nonfiction that depicts the arduous journey of a stroke survivor diagnosed with aphasia, with a quirky twist, the personified character of aphasia herself.
Wow. Wow. I love it. I wanted to put you full screen. Everybody, I'm playing with the controls behind the scenes here, but I wanted Shai. I love, again, I keep saying it, but you are such an advocate. And I love how you've taken this perspective and personified aphasia. So let's talk a little more about your book and what's in it and what it meant for you as your healing process, journey, coping system.
Yeah. Well, to me, it's talking about the journey through this writing with this book is an exploration of discovery and recovery and the transformation. So discovery is the unexpected. You know, when aphasia barged into my life, it surprised me. But I surprised myself in a ways, so I brought some items onto my personal agenda, something like especially transparency. So, it's almost like the metaphor of peeling an onion. If you just shed layers, one by one, and I discarded my fear, my insecurity, I discarded material possessions, and discomfort and physical discomfort, so and definitely I discarded my shame, so now I'm in a way pure and very transparent, so words like humility and when you've got nothing left to give, all you want to give, the only thing I can give is love and compassion and kindness, in words like acceptance and forgiveness. This is it's
Love it.
Transformation for me. Recovery, that's discovery is one thing. Recovery is how I actually, I don't know, drag my butt from my isolation and from my ivory tower, and come out and join a speech therapy at groups. And finally, there's a little laughter in my life. It's fun, and you have a conversation as broken as it is. And of course, I signed up for research studies at universities and hospitals, etc. But the transformation, which is never complete, but I came back to my roots, to my passions. So part of the book is about my cooking, and it's about my guitar playing, and of course the writing. I've part of it is the acceptance. Is the trauma which I embrace. I embrace the trauma, and put in a chapter in this book is and it's called The Trauma Club. In 1982, I was a soldier and fighting in a war. I lost lives, and 40 years later, at the time for my stroke was 30 years ago, and I lost a part of me. I lost my identity.
Yes.
And but I've embraced it and I accepted it, and I'm much more at peace with it. So I think living with aphasia is an ongoing journey of a companionship a blessing and a curse. But so that's kind of, it's a small book.
But it's so deep on so many levels. If you wouldn't mind, I'd like to dive in just a couple of the points. I'm writing notes while you're talking. I love that you talk about transformation and transparency, how you had to kind of release so many things about who you were before you had aphasia, so that you can then kind of develop your next, not develop, but be open to your next identity, your next sense of purpose. And I think so many struggle to figure out what that is, and or they're so isolated they don't know what the next step is to take.
Yeah, it's for me, being permanently stuck with the aphasia. I forced myself to re-exam and kind of reboot. Aphasia shut a lot of windows, and for me, for like language, but it opened other doors. Bringing that all these things I just said, acceptance, the forgiveness. Yes. But suddenly when you have an inner world that appears and vast and extraordinary, so just letting me see that I've never seen before. I mean, I was so busy in life, the man I used to be, work, and the wife will take care of the 2 kids and dog, and I'm too busy, and I made many mistakes. I was, I don't know, too arrogant, but now when you go back to your essence, then hey, I like myself, who the fuck, and so you give up a lot, but I know that for all of us, it's one thing to lose certain abilities, but it's also another to lose your identity and the purpose, and people that you love. So I know I was fortunate again because I can really express. I know the people who cannot, and I know that aphasia is not the most welcome guest or the most popular kid in school, but if society has the vocabulary to understand what victims of stroke are enduring and know even what aphasia is, then people like me would not be so isolated in their false shame, and so
the advocacy part. So you're on a mission to educate people about aphasia. Can you tell us some of the ways you're doing that?
Yes. So there are, one of the things I'm trying to do is I mean that part of it is a community. We have our, I called us Aphasians. We are Aphasians, and it's kind of like a gated community in a way, but not locked. And so the doors are open. But that's one thing. I try to the best I can to be, add organizations like Adler Aphasia Center and the NAA, and people like this that I participate, and I'm trying to be an ambassador, bringing all kinds of tools for perhaps aphasias and caregivers, etc. That's number one. But outside of that, how do you actually get out and speak? So, for example, the National Stroke Awareness Month is coming in May, and so I've reached out and was invited to to speak at libraries at close to me. It's like 3 or 4, so far. So to me, for it's fantastic because I can actually get out and preach the word.
Yes. And I love that. So May is Stroke Awareness Month. And in June, we have Aphasia Awareness Month. So a double header, double the opportunity for yourself, for myself, those that are in the community. I'd love to hear how people are educating others, what they think they might be able to do, even if it's just commenting on a Facebook page or a Facebook post, or if you're on LinkedIn and there's something that's posted. Social media works by people liking something, giving it that thumbs up so that the post gets some weight and can stay at the top of people's feeds. So that's just one small way. You don't have to go out and speak like Shai is, at the libraries, right? It's a matter of, doing what you can do.
Yeah, and look, all of the media outlets, fantastic. Like I said, NAA, Adler, Arts, ARC. A lot of the thing is, I'm a dinosaur when it comes to technology. So I'm not very good at really get out and get people to, but I like to sitting back and I'm there the best that I can. All I have is my book is a foot in the door thing, like I said. So it's a here's my business card. I'll gladly join, but yes, like it's the only just for people to know more about aphasia. People didn't know before. That's the message I convey, that I leave for people to leave to think of is just be patient. Yes, be kind for us, but also for yourselves. But just don't forget that all of us aphasia, and not all of us. You are the light. You are the love and inspiration. So I would like to inspire you even a tiny bit. I've done my job.
That's
so
wonderful.
Thank you. Of course, what you're doing for TV stroke TV media, fantastic. I mean, the more the better.
That's right. It's a village. I mean, and we all have to combine our energies and our efforts, and then we can magnify. We can educate, and we can allow Ephesians such as yourself to be in the light, to be part of the greater community. How would you say, Shai, how would we educate friends and family if they have a loved one that has come down with aphasia for whatever reason? What would you want to say to them to better understand their person with aphasia?
Well, it's difficult to say because I know that people like you and people who are the pathologists, the SLP folks, and are your saints. Period. You're angels. You're our angels. You're the ones who guide us, the best that you can, and so all I can, and part of the media outlets, so we'll have to getting out to people. I say, go talk to your therapists. Here are the organizations who,
Okay.
that conference that we went to, and see. I'm just sitting back and I'm like, all that love. It's like it's unbelievable how I'm swarmed with
Yes.
the human touch is what I call it. And you got it. I see it. So it's difficult me to say you should do this and you shouldn't do that. You just you're the best thing that we ever have for us. So
let's talk about families. How does a family support someone with aphasia? And I'm not talking specifics, like, not necessarily techniques, but in general, what kind of a mindset does the family need to have to help support their loved one with aphasia?
This is what you told me. You said this to me, and I ramble kind of off track a little bit with this, and part of it is because I have very few people in my life, a very, very, very small circle of friends. I have my Suzanne, my partner, and my true one, and I have the very, don't have a family around here, but I do see how the only thing I can say to people is don't be afraid to push a little bit more. I've seen a lot of Aphasians who, I don't want this, I don't want that. Okay, fine. What do you want for dinner? We have different ways, outside the box thinking, and bringing people that they never really think of before, but here it is, and take them by the hand. More. I mean, what I said about that people, friends, run for the hills. It's not. Part of it is that people just say, okay, this. I know he needs his space, and I don't know the face. I'm not sure what it is, but leave him alone. If he really needs something, he'll come out. But their isolation is not the. I'm trying to closing gaps, and I think through pathology and Aphasians, caregivers, it's your job in a way to close that gap the best you can.
You just hit on I think a really important point, Shai, that you were saying that the person with aphasia may be kind of pushing people away. And I don't necessarily think that's what they intend, because just working with so many survivors, a great range of survivors from all different levels of impairment, I think they push away because that might be the only outlet they have to express frustration. And you then followed up and you said that the caregiver might interpret that as, I'll leave them alone. I'll give them some space, but then they never make that reconnection. I think that reconnection is what is so important. You said human touch, physical touch. I would say that physical touch might be one of those first ways of making a connection. Putting your hand on their shoulder, holding their hand if it's depends on your relationship, right? But I think that's the first way you can start with a connection and take small steps to build that communication. With the help of professionals, with the help of support groups. I definitely heard what you said earlier about getting out of your isolation and finding a support group, getting involved in research studies. Huge. That's a huge step to combating isolation.
Yes, absolutely. What you're saying, absolutely right. I know that we have shades of, we have to battle our demon sometimes, and I've seen people. I was part of a groups where, I tried my best to say, hey, I'll help. I'll drive you and let's go and have a beer or something, but whatever. But it's there's I'm that it's people are just really alone, and but like you said, it's the best you can do. You'll be surprised how 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 people soft their brow a little bit when if you do, but it's not easy. It's really not easy. It's not just the medical part is part of it, and then there's all the yin and yang of the beautiful and the love and the compassion and all that, and and the bad side of things. I mean, there's
Sure.
Nothing is complete, but you bring it correctly, like you said. You can do it physically and visually also.
Yeah, start there. I would love to, as part of this aphasia awareness and stroke awareness, I'd love to give some tools to friends and family of someone with aphasia. I think part of why I'm just going to pick a friend. A friend might stay away from the person with aphasia because they feel like they've got to do so much and learn so much, and it's uncomfortable, and they don't know how to have the hard conversations. So it's easier for them to stay away. But what if we could give tools like, hey, just come by the house and bring a cup of coffee, bring a sandwich to share. You don't have to stay for 5 hours. You can stay for 15 minutes, right? Just little things that could really help start making that connection.
Yes, no, absolutely. It's listen, I'll cook for you anytime. Aphasions. And actually I do it. I mean, sometimes I surprise them. I said, yeah, for me, given, I said that I give the best I can give is the love and compassion. But hey, I need some really good grub, and
I love it. I need some good grub, says Shai.
Yeah, and this passions and for me, giving through that, I actually thought one of the chapter in my book that I didn't use, was about recipes from aphasia, for example.
Oh.
Yeah, and right, it's like the aphasia burger or something, but long story, but no wonder why I deleted it. I put it outside the book, but part of it is what are you going to give? With music, for example, it's a huge benefit for stroke survivors, and so if you can. So to me, again, cooking and music, why not? So
yes,
I do my contribution.
I love that. I think you just need to release the long lost chapter of, goddess aphasia recipes.
Maybe it's the next book. Maybe
maybe. No, I think that's clever. So Shai, walk us through, if you have a few more minutes with us, walk us through how you structured the book and kind of how the chapters kind of flow so people can know what to expect.
Okay.
You referenced chapters a few times, so that's why I was thinking this could be useful.
Yeah. So first, it's a memoir and nonfiction, but I think part of it is the man I used to do, the man I used to be. So I talk about childhood and my relationship with my mother, for rest in peace, who when I had the stroke, and when she's, when we battled, because she did not accept aphasia in a way. There's another's chapters about intellect, which is a little bit of controversial.
Mm-hmm. That's going to be a whole other topic.
Correct. That's aphasia and but intellect, and I got it. But that's another story. You talk about my career and my the military. There's one of them is very, in a way, because it's in the trauma club. It started with me as a soldier, and later the integration of the stroke and the war. But then the stroke, and after that, how marriages disintegrate in a way, and then bringing it. Obviously, the biggest part is the dialogue, even before with her, aphasia, but then it's more like the part of healing and light, bringing spirituality into the book. And part of it is when I say where I don't particularly care for astrology and Reiki therapists and crystal healers and sorcerers and priests and rabbis and papais and babais, etc. But I take it higher level of consciousness, being you, and the whole word for it's you, Aphasians, and obviously for all of us. So that's why I try to like a trajectory, both when it comes to chronology of from Israel to Hong Kong, whatever, and back over here to the U.S. and coming back to roots with passions. And that's kind of the flow.
Love it.
Going through, yes.
Tremendous.
Thank you.
Shai, I would love to share with folks kind of your reading notes. It was the handout you gave at the Aphasia conference. It was that 3 pages of notes. Let's see, what's it called? It's your reader's guide.
Right.
It's the reader's guide. I'd love to share that with the audience, if that's all right with you, and gives a little summary of some of the key parts of the book that I think people are going to really want to attend to. And you've generated some great questions to get people thinking about maybe some preconceived notions and maybe help them see some of their own possibilities for transformation, building their own identity, rebuilding. Some survivors talk about rehabilitation, some talk about a rebirth, some talk about rebuilding a life after aphasia.
Right. Yeah. So, the goddess aphasia. This is the readers with experts and discussion. This is and thank you, Wendy Greenspan, for assisting me with.
Oh, she's
with
wonderful.
This.
Thank you, Wendy.
Yes.
Wonderful.
So part of it, for example, we give about my name is Aphasia. I actually Greek word means speechless. Cool name, wouldn't you say? I am the thief of words, a scorpion that frogs fall every time. I don't worry whether people embrace what I am, defects and all, or not. But what I know damn sure is that you, Aphasians, as you call it, and we're in it for the long haul. Nothing prepared you for barging into your life, and I'm sorry for the precious gift that you've lost. I'm here to make amends, and my mission now is to show you, well, as the song goes, get shown the light in the strangest of places, etc. And then the discussion questions would be: did aphasia barge in your life without warning? How has aphasia helped you learn new things about yourself? Would you describe your mind as a deep, dark cave? The other discussions about well, the chapter that says sometimes we Aphasians don't have many ways out. There are traumatic events outside of our control, strokes, the death of loved ones, but we are survivors, true warriors who choose to fight the good fight, to treat our battles as winnable. We mourn losses of language, of friends, of human lives, but they made us stronger. And when we find ourselves in deep distress, we have the courage and the will to open our floodgates, letting sadness out and compassion in. Do you feel like you are, as a victim, a survivor, or a warrior? That's the discussion.
Mm-hmm.
How do you let the sadness out? And how has aphasia made you more compassionate?
Mm-hmm.
It's a good question, actually, about do you feel like you are, as a victim, a survivor, or a warrior? In a way, I'm not a warrior. Maybe medically, I'm a survivor, but it's not my fault that I survived, in a way. But I mean, in the victim, it's up to you to, channel yourself into more of a channel, to positive or negative. But so other questions about, how aphasia stripped away
Yes.
joy and pride and dignity. And then one of the questions is, what exactly did you lose? And do you like the term disability? If not, well, what words do you use? I will shone the light. What does the author mean by the light? The answer is within, of course. But that's one of the discussion for us to talk about. How do I illuminate the life in our life inside? The questions about friends. Some people in your life run for the hills? And I think we talk about it a little bit. Do Aphasians have the responsibility to educate others? And how do you stay connected to people? It's part of what we talk about it.
Your book is voicing all these things that I think rattle around in the heads of folks with aphasia and their families. Like, you have put the words to these thoughts and feelings, and you've given us so much to think about. For myself as a professional, and how I can help differently, or how I can adjust, how I can adapt. But I also think this book is going to support folks with aphasia and their families. And I'm grateful that you wrote it. The timing is great for you to share this with not only my audience, but now with the internet, we have the opportunity to continue to share the message and give hope.
No, I'm really grateful. I'm anybody who will get to read. I hope they really enjoy it. I sent it to John Fetterman, and if you know, the congressman in Pennsylvania, that and some others, even Gabby Giffords, and they didn't respond. I think, especially with Don, I think we're talking about people running for the hill. Sometimes Aphasians say, leave aphasia out, and which is a little bit of a shame, isn't it? But the more I'm just grateful that it's here. It's a catharsis in a way for me, but I'm an advocate, an aphasia advocate, and the support that you're giving us, Genevieve, and everybody that's listening to and hearing us, many thanks, and keep going. Let's
keep on it.
Shine on.
Shine on. Well, that's Shai. Thank you for being on here. Thank you for your candidness, for sharing your story, for sharing your passion. And we'll hang on, and everybody have a wonderful, wonderful day.